I've already done a full video on Hotline Miami this year, but that was specifically on why its simplicity was much more satisfying than the bloatedness that generally accompanies modern games. It has a lot more to offer than that. In my analysis of Hotline Miami, I emphasised its stylishness, and it really is the fulcrum around which the rest of the game's qualities rotate. Everything about it is slick as fuck: the combat, the art style, the music. The use of the striking neon backdrop has been combined with brutal and unabashed violence before, in both video games and movies. It really is a winning combo. There's something extra satisfying about smashing someone's head in with a baseball bat while feeling like a cool dude. No one wants to be a loser who does that shit. That's just weird. The feeling of satisfaction isn't guaranteed though, because Hotline Miami is hard as balls. It isn't the type of game where you can run into a room and fuck everyone up at the same time. It requires careful planning and meticulous execution. This, of course, can lead to extremely frustrating deaths, but the rewards that can take the place of that frustration feel all the greater. At times I did feel like the combat wasn't as sensitive as I'd like it to be. Close encounters sometimes felt like a lottery. It's hard to tell if that was a fault of the game or if I was just too slow. Probably the latter, but who the fuck knows. I'm not sure why, but I'm not really motivated to play the sequel either. I'm not sure it needed one. I've heard people say it's very similar to the first, but it feels a lot cheaper. I don't know if that's true, but I think the time I spent with Hotline Miami, as enjoyable as it was enough. Despite these shortcomings, there's a lot of hidden depth to the game, especially in one area that I kinda neglected in my previous video: the story. The story of Hotline Miami is really fucking weird, and I have absolutely zero idea what's going on. It's confusing, psychedelic, and doesn't have a definitive conclusion. But it really gets under your skin and injects another layer of atmosphere. It kind of feels like the equivalent of writing on a piece of paper that you've placed on top of a book so you can write more smoothly. You're not really paying any attention to the book underneath, and you don't even know what it is maybe, but it's making your experience feel significantly more fluid. That's probably the worst analogy I've ever come up with in my life, but it is really hard to explain the effect that the game's story has. It's subtle and not subtle at the same time. I googled it when I finished to try and see if smarter people had figured out what was going on, and there are some really cool and interesting theories bouncing around, but they're all a bit tenuous and plot holy and don't really seem to explain the story in a way that makes you go, ah yeah, that makes sense. It's more like, huh, that could be it. Bit fucking weird if it is. Hotline Miami is a shortish game. It's a fun game, it's a difficult game, it's a cool as fuck game, and by now it's definitely a cheap game. All reasons why you have no excuse not to try it. It's available on basically any worthwhile platform. Hotline Miami, great game, go play it.